Hello and welcome to the Collective Shift channel. Matt here to share with you the latest from the macro economy and the crypto industry, getting into the most significant news from the past week, where it's my job to help you as investors and market onlookers to really keep on top of the most significant events and market moving events happening, whether it's in the macro space, the crypto industry, or even the NFT space, as we're increasingly seeing become more relevant in the past 6 to 12 months. As always, we'll start off with the Australian economy, and biggest news from the macroeconomic landscape in the past week was yesterday's meeting at the between the Reserve Bank of Australia, so the Central Bank of Australia, for those of you unaware, and yeah, they did confirm that they will be ending their quantitative easing. They will end it 350 billion in bond purchasing, which is quantitative easing, or QE, on February the 10th. So that was really expected, and no real surprises there. They kept the cash rate on hold, which again was to be expected. Amid this is all in a scenario of better than expected economic data and rising inflation, as you would have seen me cover in previous weeks and months. Economy starting to really bounce strongly off of the lows during the COVID, the worst of the COVID pandemic, and also seeing inflation really starting to ramp up in many developed nations. So as you said, heard me say previously, this will continue to drive the narrative from both the political landscape, which I'm increasingly seeing become more of an issue or front of mind for politicians, and then obviously just from the broader economic standpoint. So no real surprises yesterday, but it was still the most significant news from the past week. And yeah, as a result of that, we've really seen over the past week, stock markets all around the world really continue or have some sort of relief rally off of what was an awful January for all markets, all stock markets, and especially the higher risk assets such as tech stocks, and then that trickled into crypto assets as I've been covering. So yeah, we have seen, at least in the US case, the best 3-day rally since 2020. So I'm not sure. So since all of last year and up till 13 months. Not sure in particular what month that was in 2020, but for quite a while, we'll leave it at that, was the best 3-day rally. Really as a result of what I was covering last week, really, with the Federal Reserve coming out with their monetary policy stance, and it's kind of just investors basically soaking up that news and kind of realizing things aren't as bad as what the market may have been expecting. That's really what we're seeing here. Again, as I said last week, I think a lot of this has to do with people selling off and taking profits after what has been a 2-year run, which has a 2-year run which has performed, which has been very, very rewarding for investors, and is not an average year, so to speak, or it's almost an outlier the past 2 years. So it makes sense to take profits for many investors, and that's a big reason why I think we've had this massive drawback in stock prices, as well as crypto prices as well. So that's also something to keep in your mind when people kind of think about why prices may be going down. So okay, we've had this rally higher, this bounce higher. I think what has also helped that has been a decent earnings season in the US to start that off. Decent in terms of, I think investors were fearing the worst when it came to Apple and Google or Alphabet's reporting. If they were really worse than expected, as I said last week, then I thought that the market was really going to take that as another reason to really be fearful. It turns out Apple's results were basically, not that terrible against expectations. And same with Alphabet today. So again, that's been another reason, I think, why people have deployed some capital and really bought what has been a heavy dip in the past couple of weeks. Looking ahead, and all eyes will be on the employment data in the US that comes out later this week. I believe that is the most significant, I guess, macroeconomic data that will be coming out this week. And I think it's also worth pointing out, in China, it is, the lunar, the Chinese New Year, so there will be probably lighter kind of trading volume going on in China, and probably a real dearth of, I guess, macroeconomic data and whatnot, just due to the holiday period over in China. Okay, we'll move on to the biggest crypto industry news now. And this came in yesterday from India. This is all over the news, the mainstream news. I've been seeing it on as well. That they will be, the news at least, and I'll get to this soon when it comes to India's relationship with crypto. However, at least the news, the grab here is the finance minister said that they believe that India is going to be introducing a 30% crypto tax, as well as a digital rupee central bank digital currency, at some stage in 2022 or 2023. I haven't confirmed whether this is locked in or not. I did just want to read this here. Okay, they proposed the introduction of a 30% crypto tax that targets all transfers of virtual digital assets. So again, this was like all over the news. I did just want to kind of touch on the fact that India has flip-flops, like arguably the most up there with China in terms of regulatory commitments or regulatory positions when it comes to anything to do with crypto, like its status as a financial asset, a monetary kind of like a currency, and how to tax it. They've really shifted a lot. However, this is, I guess, the latest wave, and we will see whether this does, this does pass through their parliament there and is ratified into law. If it does. So if it does, it is the most significant news of the week, just because of India's population size and its, I guess, economic, its economic position in the world. So it is encouraging to see them once again trying to, implement regulations. I won't comment too much on the CBDC side of things, because most countries are really, pushing the CBDC research and development, and whatnot. I still think we're many years ahead from that getting into any sort of, part of society and everyday life in most countries at least. But the crypto tax is important to note, for you viewers and listeners out there, because it's just another, I guess, normalization and validation of crypto as an asset class. And I guess the more that it can have some regulations around it, I guess the more that it's, a part of the economy and the part of markets. So very important there to not just keep crypto in this kind of grayish position where no one really knows how to define it. And now this news here out of the US, just days after the House of Representatives examines stablecoin regulation, the Senate is going to look at stablecoins as well. So as I've said, I think towards the end of last year, stablecoins are probably the most, in the firing line of regulators at the moment. I think second after that is DeFi, or decentralized finance. But stablecoins, because of how much of a threat they are to kind of sovereign currencies and whatnot, and the issuers of those currencies, I think that's why they're going to be under the most like targeted sector of crypto in the short term. So I still have hope that it's not, I don't think it's going to be like an all-out assault on stable coins, but I think in prioritization of regulators, I think this is right up there to just, I guess, learn more about stable coins and get some, solid regulatory foundations to kind of for stablecoin issuers to operate within. So I expect over the next couple of weeks in particular, like stablecoin commentary on stablecoins from regulators and policymakers will be all over the headlines in the crypto world at least. And again, all of these hearings and whatnot, every time there is a hearing, it just moves the needle, bit by bit towards there being some sort of regulations drawn up and proposed. So the witness for, this was, and of course, as towards the end of last year, there was a very high profile hearing as well on stablecoins, which, you can read the names there of who was involved, but that was probably one of the most high profile, I guess. The people who were testifying in that hearing were just full of, really respected and, I guess, well recognizable names in the crypto space. And again, I would expect them to be called upon throughout this year. All right, more regulations to do with crypto. This time it is on the booming, sector that is metaverse related gaming, particularly its, collision or overlap with finance. So you often see that shortened into the term GameFi, which is almost like there's like DeFi, decentralized finance, and now GameFi has emerged. So basically these play to earn games where, you go to play a game like Axie Infinity, and for the amount of time and tasks that you complete, you earn these tokens or crypto assets. That absolutely exploded in 2021 and is continuing to see some really strong traction moving into this year. So I did just want to put this on your radar that, regulators are starting to take notice of this sector in particular. I think NFTs is another that will get on the radar of regulators as well. And was there? I wasn't sure if there was actually any significant news. Experts warn. So there wasn't actually any particular news on this. Sorry, but I did just want to put this on your radar because NFTs as well is another one that I think whilst everyone's all buzzed and hyped about GameFi and NFTs, I think similarly to what we saw in 2017, when things get crazy, I think people start to get taken advantage of, and retail investors in particular can easily be, preyed upon and duped into, giving them, they do give their money away, but they're almost conned in a way by these promises that don't really hold up. But I think it's really important to be aware that regulators do pay attention to this stuff, particularly when it gets a lot bigger, which is what we've seen with GameFi. All right, more regulations here. It was a very busy hot start to the year now that regulators are back to work and whatnot. I did just want to comment on Facebook very quickly, or Meta. They did officially close their Libra or Diem, token and stablecoin project. I believe they sold it off to another buyer. That just ends a chapter. I won't really get into that. I think for everyone, you would know kind of what's the story is with that, and they eventually got watered down and eventually became just another kind of stablecoin kind of wallet project. So to see that kind of that such a huge bet and gamble, or not gamble, but a huge venture back in 2018, I believe it was, when that news did surface, or mid 2018 or mid 2019. That just rocked. That was like the biggest news that had happened in such a long time. I still remember it happening. It was in June. It was in 2018 or 2019, and it really revitalized the crypto industry and got everyone talking about stablecoins and Bitcoin again. And to see that now, where we are in February 2022, to see that now just not even exist, or basically not exist, or to see Facebook or now Meta just can the project altogether is just such a strong example of, I guess, how much regulatory, I guess, hurdles and whatnot you need to get through if you do want to, I guess, issue your own currency, which is what it was initially, I guess, drafted as being a currency that was backed by multiple foreign exchange, foreign fiat currencies, that is. So that was a very significant, I guess, moment that happened earlier this week and didn't really get a lot of coverage because it's been a very, death by a thousand cuts sort of story. And so the final chapter, I guess, is officially closed. And just some comments here by Jack Dorsey, now former CEO of Twitter and still the CEO of Square. He's a massive advocate for Bitcoin, and he did kind of speak out about how much of a wasted opportunity and resources, a wasted opportunity it was for Facebook, or Diem as they're now called, and just the sheer amount of resources they wasted in kind of trying to get Diem and Libra up and running, saying that it would have been much more useful if they had just, focused on, trying to make Bitcoin a lot more feasible currency to be used all around the world, which is kind of what, the Lightning Network and another of, I guess, Jack Dorsey's companies he's invested in is also doing some work there in El Salvador and many other Latin American countries. So, he might be talking his own book there a bit. I guess he's just speaking what he believes. And, he can only really provide his opinions through that lens. But I did just kind of want to give some attention to that because with all the NFT hype and buzz, I think these sorts of stories are still super important, and it is kind of just reflective of that tussle that I was commenting on just before between regulators and where Bitcoin kind of fits into that. All right, like as I've been covering 2021, you would have seen just the massive influx in venture capital. I had never seen anything like it in all my years in the industry, and it's really just continued to start off in 2022 with these really sizable raises being announced and funding rounds by crypto companies, some more mature ones such as FTX in this case, as well as just a spate of younger projects accessing seed capital very easily. So it was just like so FTX here was another one. So they announced here 400 million in Series C funding. So that brings their value to 32 billion. So that is just one of the fastest growing companies in the world right now. And it's really going to be interesting to see what FTX does with this war chest of capital. I would expect them to acquire some more companies. I'm expecting to see that this year, as well as obviously just to hire more teams and hire more people and expand into different verticals really. Similarly, just on the funding side of things, there's multiple funding announcements every day really. So I don't want to get into all of them in this video obviously, but just another really significant one I wanted to share with you was Alexis Ohanian, his VC firm 776 Management. So Ohanian being the co-founder of Reddit, and also as some of you may know, the husband of Serena Williams. That firm raised 500 million in capital yesterday for two new funds that they have, and they have said that they plan to make the majority of investments in crypto startups. So again, like Ohanian has been, really into, VC funding, investing, angel investing over the past several years, and again, has increasingly been diverting his attention towards crypto. You've seen this happen in many cases, like Kevin Rose is another really good example here. Early tech scenes, but then now has increasingly diverted his attention to crypto. He's almost full-time crypto now. Another one is obviously Gary Vaynerchuk as well. So, to see Alexis as well, kind of committing to investing the majority into crypto startups, it's super exciting personally for me. And again, just more validation of ultimately the technology that underpins everything, that being blockchain technology and I guess the power of smart contracts. All right, I'll get on to NFTs here, and January has just ended a couple of days ago. Wow, already. And it was then a good time to take stock and to see the sheer volume that we saw in the NFT space. So OpenSea recorded almost 5 billion in monthly sales. OpenSea, the biggest NFT marketplace, recorded 5 billion in monthly sales. It's no matter how many times I read that, I've read this, like I've seen this so many times over the past few days, and I still just can't. I still struggle to believe that the NFT marketplace has grown like so much in the past 12 months. And as I'll get to probably towards the end of this video, I'll kind of say what I kind of think what will happen next. But yeah, just some of the figures we're seeing are astronomical. I won't really go into it too much here. I guess the main takeaway for you as a listener and investor is just to know that January, just bet all records that when we reported last year, we're thinking at the time like, wow, this is kind of getting, it seemed like out of hand and too much. Like particularly back in August, and to think just 5 months later that then record has now just been like smashed, really speaks to, I guess, the power of NFTs and I guess the waking up of different areas of society that are now learning about them and getting involved, which is super exciting. There is a graph here just to show you what I just spoke about, but yeah, that was August. That was a crazy month, because of how much out of nowhere it surged. But yeah, as I said, here we are back here, start of 2022, and just wild scenes. It has been, as an investor and researcher, you can probably tell by my beard actually, I've had the days are like incredibly, just waking up all crypto almost until I go to sleep, like almost all NFTs, to be honest, because it's really just where all the attention is at the moment. I covered last week that on Google Trends, NFTs has actually surpassed crypto, which is just, again, like unbelievable to even think that that's happened. But also, as I said last week, I think that it's surprising to many, and I think many people are surprised when they learn that the NFT market is still actually really, really small compared to the rest of crypto. And the market for crypto is really, really small compared to many other markets, such as the broader stock market and whatnot. So I was going to comment on my outlook for NFTs. I think it probably just makes the most sense to say it here, but I actually predict that February is going to be crazier, in particular the next 2 weeks. I think the Super Bowl in the US will be a real, I guess, apex kind of moment, and I guess a real just a massive event for NFTs. I already know that there's going to be so many collaborations around the Super Bowl, and I would expect at the halftime performance, I think Snoop Dogg is performing, and I would expect to see some Bored Apes or something in the halftime show, and it will really just, I guess, establish NFTs as becoming this pillar of like internet culture and just culture in general. That's my prediction, at least. Big reason for that, again, is just I think people underestimate how small, or they kind of think the NFT market is growing out of proportion and exploding beyond where it should be. But when you actually kind of zoom out and compare it to the rest of crypto, it is still very small. So In terms of investments, there is like just so many NFTs, going up in price at the moment. That's where I'm doing most of my work, with Collective Shift and Nathan as well, in particular, another research analyst. We are spending almost all our waking hours on NFTs and trying to find the best investments, which we ourselves are investing in, and then or saying that we're going to invest in, and then sharing that with members as well, just to, again, just help Collective Shift members just like cut through the noise when it comes to all the NFT projects, and many of which are pretty ridiculous and going to disappear, in my opinion, in a year or so, or even 6 months. Cutting through that and trying to assess where the money is going, or the smart money. It's what I love doing and what I get out of bed for, and sharing that with members is really exciting. And it was good in the past, last week in particular, I think, to see some wins already in January, that I did share with members that have done really well, and to see a lot of comments as well, which are now on the member platform, coming in from people who also then, like, after me kind of highlighting a project and speaking about it, and why I invested in it, to see a lot of members then also saying that they researched it and then they thought it was a really cool project and invested in it. It's just a really really special feeling, I suppose, when you do see the price just like escalate like the next week on the back of like your research, and I guess the reasons why you think it is a good NFT and will go up in value, to see kind of the market kind of pricing that in and almost re-rating it upwards, is a really good feeling. And I think, just a week after this post, I think I did it when it was like 1.05, this Smiles project, for those of you listening on the podcast. And yeah, that's now doubled in a week. And it did get up to about 2.5, 2.7 ETH. So yeah, I know a lot of members out there are real happy, and yeah, it is a good feeling. And honestly, like, Smiles is probably one of my highest conviction NFTs for the long term as well. Another one being Rug Radio as well, which has been doing like just super, just been explosive growth over the past few days. I did share that with members on January 17th that I had invested in it, and I put forth my reasons in a video. And again, a lot of members who just don't have the time to keep up with NFTs and whatnot, they were able to figure out, or to have these put on their radar, do their research themselves, and then make a decision. Many of them, at least, then decided to buy these NFTs, and they've turned out, or at least in Rug Radio's case, so far, just 2 weeks later, that's up. I think that was 0.3 ETH when I recorded it, and then waking up today, that's now like 1.8. So that's like people have like 6x their money from when I covered it. And again, that's just like a super just exciting feeling when you see the market kind of recognize the potential of a project, and members are also kind of invested in the same NFT as you. It's kind of the whole reason why I do what I do, and really I'm just motivated to continue to get in the weeds and just extract the best investments that I'm making, and then sharing them with members. So these two are ones that have done particularly well over the past week, but of course the whole market's been exploding. I think like Bored Apes obviously has been one that's been getting in all the headlines and continued. I think Justin Bieber the other day, he bought one for a Bored Ape for $1.3 million US, which is just that was so much above the floor price of Bored Apes. But he did eventually explain why he did buy it, and you can look it up if you did want to find that out. But again, just every day, just seeing more and more mainstream adoption of NFTs, like the Coachella Music Festival. They're now going to launch their own NFTs. That news came out earlier today. They're doing that on Solana. Again, you've seen me talk about it so many times, but there's so many applications of NFTs and like so many use cases, and it can be basically used by so many different sectors of society. Which is so different to the altcoin boom that happened in late 2017, where it was just not as like clear. I think, like, at least, you know, winding it back to myself, it just wasn't as clear what the value proposition was for like a lot of these altcoins, and I think they didn't really touch as much of a segment of society. Whereas, you know, NFTs, it's the completely different game, and it's why Collective Shift, we're taking it seriously because we kind of are realizing the potential of them, and have done for a while now. And yeah, it's just a crazy time to be in the crypto space, but also super exciting. So another one here, just to recap. I don't want to go through, if I went through every single adoption NFT story for the week, I'd be here for another hour, but just covering another like really significant one was the Rolling Stone magazine. They teamed up with Coinbase, and they're now launching, they're collaborating with 12 artists to do an exclusive NFT drop, and that will be all surrounding the Super Bowl as well, which is in Los Angeles this year. So all these NFTs that were involved in this announcement, they saw some, really strong price action, such as Deadfellas and Boss Beauties. And, again, just NFTs becoming ingrained in the culture and the art scene in particular. It's just really in overdrive at the moment, and seemingly in overdrive, but as I believe in, I think it's still it's still going to increase in the short term. I definitely think a correction's coming, but I think that will come post Super Bowl. I'm still expecting Super Bowl to be almost like the top in a way. However, in the meantime, it's all systems go in terms of just researching and trying to gauge where the smart money is, and personally taking profits along the way, because I think a big trap a lot of people kind of overlook is that you still do pay taxes in fiat currency. So if you're just going from NFT to NFT in ETH, at the end of the day, you still, even if you had big profits, you still need to pay that in fiat currency. And I think a lot of people fall into the trap of not knowing that, which is similar to, it's just the same as crypto assets, really. All right, moving on to the stock market here. Just moving on to Bitcoin. And yeah, it did we saw the stock market kind of rebound, and Bitcoin and Ether and the whole crypto asset space were kind of commensurately kind of rebounded as well, because as I've said in the past few weeks, I've never really lived through a time where crypto and macro has been so correlated. And so when stocks had a bit of a relief rally, that kind of converted and was reflected in crypto asset markets as well. I think Bitcoin has had its, it touched its highest point in 2 weeks. It was looking for a bit shaky there, whether, I think at the time last week, will it go below 30,000? And as I did kind of touch on, the gap in between 30,000 and 20,000 for Bitcoin in US dollar terms, there's barely any trading activity in between that. It's pretty desolate. So I think the fear was if it went sub 30k, that it would really tank the price and go towards 20,000. We didn't see that, and we've actually seen Bitcoin, bounce higher, and is now, at the time recording, 38,640. Concerning for the bulls is that it's still below those 3 long-term moving averages that I speak about, and that I guess most investors look at, or traders as well. And then in ETH terms, again, it's the same thing, just very correlated at the moment. Bouncing, it did get towards 2,300 just about a week ago, and it's now, again, bounced strongly up towards 2,800. Again, what's my outlook? Like, where do we go next from here? It really is anyone's guess, to be honest. I think a lot of it, again, it's anyone's guess, I think, in particular, because it's still crypto in particular, still so heavily tied to the performance of stock markets. And to have a prediction of where stock markets goes in this day and age is again, it's just anyone's guess. I think there's so many factors, unforeseen factors, that will affect stock markets. We are living through, times that we've never seen before in terms of macro factors, where it's geopolitical tensions, the COVID pandemic, and then the result of the COVID pandemic, as in its impact on the economy. And now we're seeing just these crazy macroeconomic data points come through, and the market's trying to interpret that all in real time. So, look, all I'll say is that we've had a really serious drawdown in prices. Yes, we've seen a relief rally. Will that just continue on to follow through? My guess is that there's just going to be some volatility in the short term. I wouldn't be surprised if I wake up to Bitcoin tanking down towards 30,000, and I also wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin soaring through 40k. That's my opinion at the moment. Again, it's reflective of just how much uncertainty there is in the market, and you've kind of just got to acknowledge that and not really force a narrative just for the sake of trying to predict what's going to happen next, because no one can, and particularly when you're talking about medium, kind of short to medium time frames as well. All right, in terms of what I'm focusing on next week, again, just doing, as I said, more NFT investing and more, sharing of my investments with members. I think there'll be more headlines to do with stablecoin regulations, as I said, as that congressional kind of hearing gets closer, or that Senate hearing gets closer in mid-Feb. I would expect more hype and I guess collaborations announced in the NFT space surrounding the Super Bowl. Coinbase NFT platform is still something that hasn't launched, and I think a lot of people forgot that that's about to launch. So I'll be kind of not surprised if that launches in the next, I'm expecting any day really it to launch, but to be honest, I could be saying this in March, but I think that's just another factor to keep thinking about in terms of catalysts. But yeah, that's really where my head's at. Everything in terms of what I'm investing in and my thoughts on the market, I continue to share with Collective Shift members. I think I do have a workshop on tomorrow that will be on music NFTs. So we have started doing our workshops with members lately, which has been really fun. The first two we've done NFT investing and DeFi investing. Did one with Nathan and one with Kinji, another research analyst at Collective Shift, last week. And it was great to have members tuning in live and just to interact on a more frequent basis rather than the old monthly Q&As that we did. And we've also got some news dropping soon concerning our investments section for pro members as well, which is exciting. So a lot going on. I do just want to remind you that our 14-day free trial has just been enabled in the past week or so. So if you did want to, have a mate or a colleague or family member who you think would enjoy, learning a bit more about NFTs or crypto, or someone who would, just want some regular updates and insights on, what we're doing as research analysts, send them over to collectiveshift.com. Rather, not that. Don't do that. Send them over to collectiveshift.io, and then navigate to the member section. You can start up your free trial for 14 days. So yeah, that's we are seeing a lot of them come through, and it has been exciting. And yeah, as I said, I'm all NFTs at the moment, but we do have many other areas of the crypto space covered at the moment, with Checkmate, with his Bitcoin on-chain analysis, which has been fantastic as always, DeFi, gaming. So yeah, real crazy time at the moment. So thank you for tuning in. Do give us a collective shift to subscribe on YouTube or on the podcast if you are listening, and do leave a review or comment, and I'll do my best to get back to you and to reply, because I do see some great suggestions coming through on the comments on past videos. So thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your day.